All right, so the main reason we brought in the Brainiac Chris Rice for this week was to dive into something that the three of us spotters are not really qualified to do, which is talk about this next gen car, Chris. And I'm just going to start with this to kind of get you going. NASCAR Cup teams, the superstars, right? The super teams, if we want to call them that. They're completely vertically integrated. They build everything from top to bottom, whether it be the chassis, the body, the engine. They have control, quality control over every single part and piece to some extent that goes on that race car. With this next-gen car, all that completely goes away. So as a team owner, team president, how do you look at that and you say, I'm okay with giving up all of this control over my own product? Because me as a business person, I struggle with that, right? And then kind of my second question to that part is, I've been a part of a lot of great Cup teams that won a lot of races. And for say, let's say Kevin Harvick goes out and he wins a race and he's in a brand new car. The first thing you hear is, we're going to build a car just like this one. But we're never able to really do that. So how do we take these outside vendors and make them take the place of that vertical integration the team owners have right now?
It's got to be cheaper. It's easy. Bottom line. It's the bottom line. It's got to be cheaper. It's got to be more economical so we have more owners come in. You know, change sometimes is good. I want to be very clear when I say that. Sometimes it's good. You know, we went in COVID and we started not practicing. Everybody thought that was the end of the world. We were not qualifying. Yes, we need to get cars in there. We need to be able to qualify. But actually, that wasn't that bad. We put on some great races not having
I think they've been awesome.
Practice, you know? So this is bottom line. If it cost us right now to build a race car $100,000, if that's what it cost us, this car eventually has to be less than that for it to be a smart business decision. You look at our shop, you know, we got a ton of race cars. Now, you're going to have the same race car that you race at Daytona, we're going to run it at Watkins Glen. So our fleet of 5 to 6 speedway cars and 5 to 6 road course cars is cut down to one race car. That bottom line right there is already good, you know, and that's what every owner looked at when they decided to do it. Each owner had a say-so in this. Did they like every bit of it? Absolutely not. Now, we're coming in, obviously, on the backside of it. We didn't have any say-so, but we're taking the benefits of a new race car because we only own 2 Cup cars right now. We own our road course car and we own our speedway car. Built them brand new, both of them.
One of the things that jumps out to me, and I don't know the answer to this, I don't even know the question really, but like cost concerns about, you know, you're kind of monopolizing all of these vendors. Like,
totally.
You have to go to this guy for your transaxle. You got to go to this guy for whatever. Like, what kind of oversight are they going to have to keep these prices in line to where this guy that you're buying your transaxles from just can't? I mean, I've heard rumors that this transaxle budget's got to be like $500,000 for next year, you know, for
per
one car.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what kind of oversight are they going to have to keep these costs in line?
Well, they're going to know exactly what you spend. They have to submit that. And if they get out of line, so right now the Xfinity Series has been that way with 5-star in their bodies for a couple of years now, and it's worked well. They asked for a price increase, but they had to ask 2 years in advance, and it's sent out to the teams. But every month they do a check. NASCAR does a check. Are these guys charging the guys the correct thing?
When you talk about bodies, though, right now teams have complete control over the body. So you in the Xfinity Series, when you get that composite body, how much control do you actually have over what's put on the racetrack?
Well, you still get to mount your body, but teams don't have complete control. So you have to buy your roof, you have to buy your hood, you have to buy your deck lid. These are all carbon fiber pieces, not the roof, but like the hood and deck lid are. So they don't have control. The sides they have to buy. Now, they're metal, so they fool with them. But now going to the composite body, you know, it's heat involved and different things. But you have control on where your body's put. But they have this box that they have us in, and it's called a gold box. And that's why that scanner is so important. And why you hear at the beginning we always complained about the scanner, because we built right to the edge of the gold box. So if something happened, the heat or the cold or something like that, the elements of the racetrack changed it up, we were outside that gold, which was a failure. But we complained about it as race teams. that box is small. That box is going to be a little bit smaller now because our box on Xfinity cars is pretty small. Like, it's a pretty small box.
Does that help competition?
You said you love the Xfinity racing.
I like it.
That tells you right there it helps competition. Now, this car is going to struggle for the first year. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. It's going to struggle for the first year because we don't know what it needs. You look at the Chevrolets right now. They struggled for one full year with that new car.
Oh, yeah.
But now they're on point. Everybody's going to be in that situation next year. The best teams are still going to rise to the top, right? But, like, these cars are still going to struggle, so you got to give them a minute.
So I think you bring up a good point right here, the Chevrolet thing. When I see this car, the first thing I thought is, man, these bodies look awesome. But all three noses are completely different. Somebody, correct me if I'm wrong, at a 1.5 mile, 2 mile track, somebody's going to have an aero advantage, right?
To start with. And you see it in Xfinity Series. The Ford got a new nose last year, and Chase Briscoe and the 22 have been stupid fast. They had an advantage. We had to catch up. Junior Motorsports, Kaulig Racing, as Chevrolets, we had to catch up. So somebody's going to have an advantage, whether it's a Chevrolet, whether it's a Ford, whether it's a Toyota. So that's going to happen no matter what. It's happened back in the days when Richard Petty won all the races. You look at Dale Earnhardt. Back in those days.
Yeah. So when we hear side force, you just talked about the Cup teams have a lot of flexibility in their sides right now. What we're taking away side force with this new car. When people hear that, what does that mean?
The easiest way I can explain it, and I was kind of getting beat up a little bit about this because I told it to someone, and I said, do you understand this? Roll down your window at 55 miles an hour. Stick your hand straight out the window. And watch how hard it pushes your hand back, okay? Then think about the side of the race car. They've shortened up the race car. They shortened up the back side of it. They shortened up the front side of it to make it look more like what you drive, like what they're selling in the showroom. So now the side is not as big, right? So, like, the force that is holding them from going around the turns is less. So they have to lift more. Well, the tire's going to have to be different. So the easiest way to always think about side force, stick your hand straight out the window, and as you move your hand one way or the other, changes the way how far it goes back, right?
Yeah.
And then basically take that race car and think about that wind hitting the side of it. Now the car is shorter.
Yeah.
It's a lot shorter behind the rear wheels. It's more symmetrical, I think, is what the Toyota guy Dave said. And it is. It's more like the car that you go and you buy. And that's what they're trying to do. We're here to sell cars to the ordinary fan. We're here to sell cars, and if the car doesn't look like what he can go buy or she can go buy,
Not gonna
they're
buy
not
it.
going to buy it. So they had to do something to make them look alike.
These rear bumpers are curved, man. Like, there's a lot of curves in that rear bumper. We see a lot of really hard pushing on restarts. We obviously see bump drafting. What do you think these curved bumpers do, rear bumpers do?
Well, what you're not seeing behind the bumpers is about, and I don't know the exact measurement, but it's probably like a 4-inch piece of door foam that you were talking about flying out of the window is basically what it is behind the rear bumper. So they're going to move a little bit more than what we have today because today the steel piece is right up against the bumper, so it's a lot harder.
Right.
Now, these bumpers on that car, on the new car, next-gen car, it has door foam basically in between the bumper and the fascia is what we call it, or the rear bumper. And also they're aluminum. They're not steel.
Okay.
So, like, they're going to have a little more give than what they do today. So
Okay.
when Denny comes up behind the 23, he can hit him and probably not make a hole in his bumper.
Okay.
Because it's going to have a little more give. And that's all due to
You hear that?
it's it's all due to crashes, right?
Right.
Like, we don't want drivers to get hurt. We want them to be able to, walk away from wrecks. You watch some of the wrecks that these guys have been in, and they're walking away, and all they're doing is getting more and more innovative because we're getting faster, right? Like, we're getting faster, and we're taking more head-on hits. Eric's hit yesterday didn't look hard to the fan, but that's a hard hit because that door foam, it has no movement, it has no give, so that was a pretty hard hit.
Yeah, I think we've heard too through the grapevine some concerns about Williams' crash and the force that he took in that wreck, and it's the product of obviously the bumpers got give, but through the grapevine, you're hearing the chassis may be a little more rigid, so it's not. Yes, you're getting that initial give from the bumper, but then you're still absorbing a lot of the impact because the car itself is so rigid. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. With the just like you said, that this is gonna be a trial and error deal. We're gonna see one wreck and they're gonna go, okay, this is what we can do to make it better. But obviously the number one concern has always been safety in our sport.
Yeah, and you're speaking of the wreck that he had at California, and that's. We will know more about that they're doing a test. NASCAR is doing a test. NASCAR spent a lot of money, and I know this because it's been done all at RCR. Everything has been done at RCR. They're getting ready to do a test to know how rigid those cars really are, and they have the ability to change something, right? So, and the front clips and rear clips bolt on, so they basically have a tub to save the driver. How many big wrecks have you seen that a tub was still just sitting there? The driver was fine, walked away from it.
Yeah.
Big wrecks.
Like an Indy car.
Like an Indy car. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to get at. And
you mentioned the wheels different. So a couple things here. What do you feel about the width of the tire? And to me, this is a question for you because you're playing the Xfinity Series and potentially the Cup Series next year. Are you going to need two kinds of pit crews?
No, I think everybody thinks you are, or at least one team thinks you will.
And the reason I say that is single lug in Cup, not single lug in Xfinity.
No, and the Xfinity Series will probably suffer a little bit. The pit stops will probably slow down a little bit, but I don't think you won't have two pit crews. We can't. We as a group, Xfinity that is, save the Cup teams a lot of money. You know what I mean? We save them a lot of money.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. They save us a ton of money. So we both need that break to be able to make great pit stops and hit our budget. So, no, I don't think we will. Like I said, you have one team or two teams that think you will need a couple different pit crews or different tire changes, right? The jack stobs are still jack stobs. You're still going to, all that stuff.
Five lugs or one, the guy should be able to hit it.
Right. And if you think about it, one lug nut in F1, and those guys actually work on a race car too. I don't know how.
Like it used to be with us.
How specialty they are. I don't know that. I'm probably speaking out of turn here. But I know we talked to one guy, and I was standing there while we talked to him. He's used his same lug nut for 8 years. He's used the same lug nut for 8 years. 8 years. So this guy has obviously been pitting for 8 years. How many tire changes been pitting for 8 years?
I got a few more questions. Why a 5-speed on this car?
All right, so I reached out because I wanted to know the same thing. So they're kind of following the same thing as, and I've done some studying, so I know exactly because it's basically close to the one they use in the Australian V8 supercars.
Okay.
They're 6-speed, and basically the internals, and you can run them longer, and it's about how long you can run them, right? And then the space inside that car is not that big. So they had come up with a different way. And the heat, our 4 speeds.
So you couldn't fit this transmission we run today in this new car?
You could fit it, but you would have to change a casing and all different things. Because this car has a pan up under it. If you think about it, our cars today don't have a pan. They have what we call a pan. So basically, it's sealed completely under the car. If you've ever worked on a car, you changed oil, and they got them pans, basically this thing's sealed front to rear because we spend astronomical money trying to make these cars as flat as we can under the bottom. Right, and hiding them and doing all this other stuff.
I noticed that at Talladega on the Cup car.
Yeah. They're a pan. Exhaust run out of both sides, so it's fitting all this stuff in there.
Do you think we'll shift to 1.5 miles?
Absolutely.
Are we going to see problems from that shifting?
No.
They're durable?
Yeah, very durable.
Yeah.
I think you'll see problems, but it's going to be stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Like what we had this weekend, brand new master cylinder just having an issue.
Random
stuff. I mean, you'll see problems. But those things are bulletproof. Think about how many times those cars you've watched race, and they very seldom have problems.
Yeah.
We don't have many part failures anymore. Very rarely.
Very rarely. And you talk about the one lug nut. The one thing I do like is an 8-inch tire. We lost side force, but we've gained in 2 more inches of tire. 18 inches. I said 8 inches. Sorry. 18 inches of tire. That's going to make for better racing. The brakes, everybody has the same amount of brakes. So TJ's, Penske's cars that can outbrake us at all the road courses goes away. Everybody has the same brakes. And all of this stuff now is you buy from the vendors, and everybody has the same stuff. You can change your setups. You can move the slugs. You can do all that. The setups will be different, right? So the savings is the parts, the pieces, the stuff.
Do you want to get a great deal in your home? Make sure you visit offerpad.com. And when you click on offerpad.com, make sure you tell them you heard about them through their NASCAR partnerships.